समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Okay, let's start with an imaginary story. We're talking about Delhi, let's say. A guy from Bangladesh enters India illegally, comes to Delhi, procures a driving license through some jugaad, gets a job as a truck driver, even though he speaks very little Hindi. He can't really understand road signs. He doesn't know what they stand for. But he drives this truck. While he's driving this truck on a busy highway where cars are speeding, he decides to make an illegal U-turn. He's driving not just an ordinary truck, but one of those huge trucks, that blocks the entire side. So when he makes his U-turn, the truck is so vast that he blocks the entire road, all 7 lanes of it. Many cars swerve, brake to avoid him. One car doesn't make it in time. It bangs into the truck. There's a family of 3. They die. The guy escapes. He's caught and he's brought to justice. How do you suppose we would react? I think the normal reaction would be given anti-immigration sentiment to go on about how did this Bangladeshi get in, etc., etc. But even for people who don't feel that way, there would be some level of horror that this guy was able to get in, was able to drive a truck which he was not qualified to do, that he was either ignorant. I mean, the charitable explanation is he didn't understand road signs. The less charitable explanation is that he was reckless and he went this way, endangered the lives, and eventually caused the deaths of people. I think there would be an uproar. Okay, now that's an imaginary story, but take the same set of circumstances. Don't think of Indians, don't think of Delhi, don't think of a guy who can't speak Hindi or doesn't know much Hindi. Transfer these events to America. I think you've probably guessed what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Harjinder Singh, an illegal Sikh immigrant to the US who did exactly the things I described. He was arrested after he tried to run away, and he was tested for language of English. He failed that test. He was tested for being able to read street signs, road signs. He failed that test. If he entered America illegally, how did he even get a license? We don't know. They are investigating that. What do you suppose the reaction in America is? Well, not very different from what the reaction in India would have been in our imaginary case. There is also an added twist to it, which is that America at the moment is in the grip of anti-immigration fever. So the idea that an illegal immigrant can come into the United States and can cause the death of 3 people is regarded by many Americans as being not just a scandal, but also an indictment of the immigration policies. There's a second agenda there, a sort of subterranean agenda, which is that the state where he was given his license, California, is run by an opponent of Donald Trump. So that further adds an impetus to it. Now, in this situation, where an illegal immigrant from India has caused these deaths, doing a job he was clearly not qualified to do, and probably driving recklessly, what should our attitude be? Well, I think the logical attitude is, look, we're sorry that this happened. He's in the United States. The law should take its own course. But that's not how we've reacted. Many people, many of them Indian Americans, have petitioned for his being treated differently, have asked for some kind of sympathy, have said that they support him. In India, Punjab politicians have asked the Ministry of External Affairs to intervene on his behalf to protect him. Some people have said things like, he's not a murderer, bechaara. It was just a mistake. But nobody's saying he's a murderer. We're accepting it may have been a mistake, that it was recklessness. He did end up killing 3 people, right? So, as a consequence of this uproar, anti-immigration fever in the United States, of course, doubled, because people are saying not only are Indians coming in as illegal immigrants, but they're supporting those who, even the legal immigrants, are supporting those who caused the deaths of Americans. So people who are already anti-immigration are saying that Indian immigrants, legal immigrants in the United States, are supporting a guy who came illegally and caused the deaths of 3 people. That further adds to the problems. As for us in India, why on earth should the External Affairs Ministry get involved? Why does it have anything to do with us? Shouldn't we let the American laws take their own course? The guy chose voluntarily to go and live in America. He may have entered illegally, but all of that was a voluntary choice. To drive a truck, which he's probably not qualified to do, was a voluntary choice. The deaths were a consequence of his own actions. Why on earth then should the Indian taxpayer finance some External Affairs Ministry initiative to support this guy? It's a mystery to me. But the case raises issues which I think go beyond this guy. It raises issues how we treat Indians abroad. My view on this is that it's complicated, but there are distinctions. Assume that you and I, who are Indian citizens, Indian taxpayers, go to a foreign country and we are arrested for some crime. I think it's incumbent on the Indian mission there to find out what it was and find out that we're being treated not unfairly. I think that's about it. If they find we're being treated unjustly, then of course they should intervene. Otherwise, they should let the law take its own course. In the case of immigrants, it's slightly more complicated. When you leave India and you decide to make your life in another country, you do know that you are bound by the laws of that country. You've chosen voluntarily to give up on India. Why then should you expect the Indian taxpayer, Indian civil servants, Indian diplomats to argue your case? You've made your bed, now lie in it. It's a little bit more complicated than this might suggest, because there are exceptions. If, say, an Indian passport holder is in a country that doesn't have a fair legal system, if he or she is being treated unjustly, if they are being persecuted for, say, religious reasons, then I can understand the Indian government getting involved. But otherwise, if it's a country with a proper legal system, there is evidence that a crime of some sort was committed, why should we get involved? It's a bit more complicated even than that, because you look at people in the Middle East. There are many Indians who go to the Middle East for, say, 2 years, 3 years, short-term stays, only to earn money. Not all of those countries have legal systems that we would approve of. If people there are accused of a crime and they appeal to us for help, I can understand that. Yes, there is a problem. They won't find justice otherwise. We should do something. But what about this guy who went to America and did this? There's yet another angle which I haven't focused on, though many people on social media have. According to reports, the reason this guy was not deported was because he said that if he came back to India, he would suffer. People have found photographs and footage of him at meetings organized by pro-Khalistani groups and have said, he's actually a Khalistani, why should we get involved? I have no proof of that. I've read what people have said. But my view on that is that if he's a Khalistani, has said that India would treat him badly, then of course there's no reason at all for us to help him if he thinks we are such terrible people and he would suffer if he came back. And in fact, if you think about it, this is slightly different from what we're discussing. One reason why there's such a great Khalistani movement in parts of North America, when there's nothing in India, Sikhs who actually live here, is because it's now become an industry. If people can claim that Sikhs are being maltreated or mistreated in India, they can then apply for asylum and go and live in those countries, alleging that they would be persecuted if they came back to India. I don't know if this guy is an example of that, but let's not kid ourselves. The demand for Khalistan in Western countries from people who don't live in India, often have never lived in India, and will not ever live in India, is because they want other Sikhs to come and get asylum, claiming that they are persecuted in India because they believe in a separate Khalistan. But leave all of that aside. We come to the key issue. Why are people feeling sorry for this guy? He went voluntarily. He acted voluntarily. What happened is a tragedy. I'm prepared to accept that it was not murder. Nobody said it was. It was recklessness. It was manslaughter. That's his decision. We must leave it to him to face the consequences of his own actions. The US is a perfectly good legal system. He should take his chances with that, fight his own battles. The fact that so many of us think that because he's an Indian or because he's a Sikh, we in India should get involved in his case baffles me. It's really got nothing to do with us. He's made his choices. He can live with them.